Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Forest stage here at ETH Barcelona. It is my pleasure to introduce to you right now a presentation called Fix the Money, Fix Our World from Juan from Maker DAO. Come on up, give him a hand.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. It's really good being here. Today I want to speak about money, which is a bit of a taboo sometimes when we're talking about importance, but I'll try to make the case of why it's actually really, really important. And I'm going to start with a very, very short introduction about me. So currently I'm the core unit facilitator at Maker DAO SES, which is Sustainable Ecosystem Scaling. And my job pretty much is being the link between governance, which is all the community and the MKR holders, that's our governance token, and the Sustainable Ecosystem Scaling team. So that's my job and what we're trying to do. And the mission of SES is to be able to scale Maker. So we try to help the workforce and the capital to join together. I'll come back to that later. My journey to DAO is a bit probably like anyone else, joining from the Web 2 or Web 1. I did a lot of consulting. Finally, I went to startups and scale-ups, and then when I discovered the Web 3 world, I just got hooked. So let's start with a very important message. We're burning our world down. This is very, very important. Everything's going really bad, and we only have one planet. Actually, we don't need to save the planet, we need to save our planet. And yeah, the planet has been there for billions of years, it will be there billions of years after we're gone. So as a species, we need to do something fast. Actually, sorry, I've heard that as a species we block or we freeze whenever there's something negative or a very negative message. So let's start again with a positive slide and some hopeful memes. I think we can all make it. So the issue is how do we do that, right? So I want to talk about two very, very important tools that we have as a species. One of them is the power of narratives, and the other one is money. The first one is much more present than we actually think. Narratives are everywhere. That's what, as a tribe, made us create stories, then that developed into religion. Even capitalism or, I don't know, socialism, communism, whatever, that's also a narrative and shared beliefs. Then you have even football, so teams, I want this team to win the World Cup, let's go, that's another example. Separatism, and you can go even as small as a family, right? So you all share narratives, we all do, and that's one of the important tools we have as human beings to survive, pretty much. The vision of your DAO, that also falls there, by the way. And the other thing that's quite important is money. This is extremely, extremely important because what it allows to do is to hyper-specialize. So we have this fungible token, which used to be, I don't know, whatever, gold or whatever the coin of the king was, and now it's digital money. And the fungibility is very important because it can tell us where to focus our energies to actually provide value to everyone else. So that's quite a tool, and as I was saying, it allows for hyper-specialization. So someone can become a pilot while the other one is building the aerodynamics, while the third person is focusing on the chips and the microprocessors of the airplane, right? So as human beings, you almost rely on the other person doing their job, and you can do your own job, and that's what allows us to be this great of a species. So let's move on and let's talk more specifics about money. So which one should we accept? Euros, dollars, pounds? There's a lot of currencies out there. And probably the answer depends on where we're living. So we take the local currency, and some people will be like, pay me in whatever, I take every currency, I don't mind. But that's actually really, really important. And this is why. I'm not going to go very much into detail because this is a very complex topic, but every single fiat unit that's out there, it's based on debt. And this is extremely, extremely important because what happens is that the debt is financing things that we might or might not agree with. So basically, we are, by accepting dollars, by accepting euros, we are accepting a debt or the financiation of a project that we might not agree with. Some examples, pharma, military, oil, the meat industry. So every government out there is subsidizing these huge industries. And we personally, as individuals, might not agree with this. But by accepting dollars, accepting euros, we are actually financing this huge project. So that's a way of having a very, very big impact. So yeah, what I'm advocating for is that we should have the choice to at least be able to say, okay, I want to finance these projects, I do not want to finance this, just by living, by taking currency, by paying groceries and whatnot. So yeah, money that aligns to your values, and again, whatever they are, right? You can be like some hardcore vegan, or you can be fighting for refugees, whatever those projects are, you should be able to allow the money to work for you. So a bit of project financing and how would these things work. So any good company, and that's just for example, would have assets, invoices, future cash flows, even reputation, and you could mint, in this case I put DAI because Maker, but you could mint any type of currency, or you can give them a loan, for example, so that they can finance whatever project aligns with your values. So in these examples, I put coffee farms, microloans, sustainable farming, education programs, et cetera, So I don't think we have a lack of projects out there. It's more finding the capital to the right cost. And we as individuals have the power to do that. So how are we planning to do it on Maker? And this is very, very new, and not everyone in Maker agrees with this. So maybe I should have started with that disclaimer that I do not represent Maker, but only my own core unit. So we're trying to build this Meta DAO system in which Maker becomes a bit of a credit facility at the center. I'm a bit oversimplifying it, but that's a bit of the vision. And then we spin out different Meta DAOs with different value propositions that can appeal to different people. So anyone that wants to start, for example, a Meta DAO in Latin America to help coffee farmers, they could create their own Meta DAO that would manage the risk, and they would be powered by Maker with their own costs, their own vision, and then they would share revenues with Maker. So Maker will be the engine that's powering all these Meta DAOs that are actually changing the world and having an impact on the world. So that's a bit of the vision. It's creating the demand and matching it with the supply. So the demand is us, right? Every single person in this world could say, I want DAI instead of euros, I want DAI instead of dollars. And then this would finance projects to create, or to finance their own projects that align with our own values. Potentially, we could have several different types of DAIs, one per each Meta DAO, so that's another thing that could be worked on. But yeah, the sky's the limit, and that's what we're working towards. So as I was saying in the beginning, it's all coordination. Any single project out there is work, which is the values, the vision, what you're trying to accomplish, is a workforce, which is us, the people working for it, and it's the capitals. And this is very important because that's the incentives that it's going to keep the project being sustainable and actually achieving something at scale. And capital doesn't need to be money. It could be just the incentives of, I don't know, getting a free ticket to a party, for example, belonging to a society. It can be anything, but it's the coordination part. And for this coordination, we need the governance part. That's extremely important. So yeah, it's all governance design at the end, and we need to design for these things. So before leaving, there are three things that I wanted to keep in mind when designing governance. One of them is open software. So this is a bit obvious, maybe, at least for developers. Open software gets more eyeballs, gets less bugs, becomes more resilient. The community owns it, so it's much more powerful in the long run. Then the second thing, which is very important, is the open frameworks. So instead of discussing who's taking care of what, you're discussing on how to tackle things in a methodical way. So we usually say change the rules, not the rulers. So it's very important setting the rules in a way that almost anyone can run it. And once you have the rules set up, people can criticize the rules and the process instead of the person running it, which is much less, almost more trustful or trustless, let's say. And the last one is redundancy first. And this has actually two things. So one of them is make your system resilient. This should be obvious, but ideally you work towards the whole system to find single points of failure, and you try to make them redundant, having failback systems, getting different groups to work on the same things. So that's that's how you build a resilient system. And the second one, which I think it's also important, is that I think that every DAO should try, or every person working for a DAO should try to make their own work redundant. So maybe setting up the incentives so that anyone that actually wants to create or to make the work redundant, they can get, for example, some type of bonus. That way, everyone would have this vision towards automating their own work and actually making the protocol safer and more stable, because at the end of the day, it's software that's running on its own instead of having to trust people, having to trust knowledge transfer, etc. So with that in mind, I wish you everyone happy government design. And if you have any questions, we have 8 more minutes. Yes, I don't know if there's a mic to hand, or also we can just chill for 8 minutes. It's also cool.
Hi, thank you so much. Can you elaborate on the first part of your presentation and on the title a bit? Because how do you, are those parallel currencies that live alongside the national currencies? Like, how do you, can you elaborate on that a bit more? Like, if I want to do this financing for these projects, why does it have to have its own currency, basically? Why can't I get the DAO and finance it with euros or Brazilian pesos, whatever?
Right. I think I'm going to get a bit philosophical here, so bear with me. But what we achieved with the French Revolution is separating the church from the state. And I believe that at the end of the day, what crypto is doing is separating the capital from the state. So they could run as parallel currencies, to answer your question, in the same way as dollars run parallel to euros. But eventually, as a species, we are assigning value to either dollars or DAI or USDC or Ether. So what you're doing when you assign value to these things is you're choosing them as a medium of exchange. I was born in Argentina, so I know a thing or two about hyperinflation. But when the people stop believing in the currency, that's mainly when the value of the currency goes down. So potentially, when you choose a currency that's only backed by projects that you support, you're directly, you don't even need to donate. You're directly contributing to these projects because you're lowering pretty much. So you're creating demand. So then it's easier to create the supply at a lower interest rate. I don't want to go too much into the details, but by choosing dollars or euros, you're saying, I agree with all the spending of the European Central Bank or of the American government. When you choose a currency that's backed by projects that do things that you agree with, you're backing these projects in a very direct way. So that's a bit the power of money as a coordination tool. I think I see a hand. Throw the mic.
Hello. Oh, thank you for a great talk. Oh, here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Thank you for a great talk, Juan. So my question is, it's about the governance design. I think right now Maker DAO is having this kind of governance crisis, right, between core units to make this hard decision. Mm-hmm. And I think, there's one proposal that is, proposed by Haas, which is like making this council model implemented to this, flat structure, right? Yeah. So I'm just curious about, what's your thoughts on this? Creating this council model in the Maker, governance structure. Yeah.
So I think that so decentralization, I don't think it's binary. I think it's more of a spectrum, and you have very centralized projects and then very decentralized projects. Some of them have no human intervention, for better and worse. So I think almost all projects start in a very centralized way, and most of them, they would say, we want to become decentralized in the long term. So a council might make sense for a lot of projects where fast decisions are needed, or if you're still looking for product market fit, that might also be a reason. If you have a lot of dissent, that might be another reason. So I think that's the main reason why they are proposing it. From a purist decentralization point of view, that might include a lot of risks in the, or a single point of failure, right? Like if the council fails, I believe that it would be extremely expensive to change it, because you need to rally everyone, convince them that they are not doing a good job. So I think that that it might jeopardize the decentralization part of Maker. But then again, that might not be a bad thing, right? Like you could choose, this is going to be decentralized, or to be centralized until we achieve this, and then we're going to decentralize that single point of failure in this or that way, so that's also fine. I think there was one more question. 2 more questions, nice.
Hey, how do you see DAI usage being affected by central banks' digital currencies? I mean, compared to the ease of usage that digital currencies will have and will bring to the masses, what narratives should Maker DAO and crypto communities should bring into the table in order to make DAI competitive? And I mean, what usage do you see for it?
Right, so in going back to Business 101, we have product and distribution channels. Maybe a reason why Tether or USDC or even the Binance stable coin is in some regions more popular than DAI is because they have a much larger distribution channels. The extreme of that is a government imposing, hey, I'm collecting taxes in whatever the currency is, so you need to acquire that money to pay the taxes, so they are forcing you to do that. Funnily enough, this is a bit of a sidetrack, but that's the way you create a market, right? You pretty much have an army, you give them your coins, and then you request taxes from the other side, so you start, that's how you kickstart the economy. So how do I see it? I think that, and again, this goes back to my talk. I think that as users, we need to be more conscious about the money that we choose. So more focused on the product, and not just take whatever the distribution channels are feeding us. If anyone wants to, same thing when you go to the supermarket and you choose a brand over the other. So it's all conscious decisions that we need to have. But ideally, we start by having the choice. I agree with you that it needs to be much easier, right? Like you cannot expect someone to know like private seed phrases and know how dApps work. So there's still a very long road to go, but hopefully we'll make it there. I feel I'm getting a stanton here.
Hi, thank you for the talk. I have a small question. Honestly speaking, I was a bit confused by the beginning of the talk. You said that supporting dollars, euros, etc. is supporting governments that issue them, and I agree on this. However, What do you think about, I don't know, stable coins? For example, DAI. DAI is tied to dollar. Doesn't this mean that using DAI, I support dollar with all the consequences?
I have 20 seconds to answer, so I'll do my best. So right now, DAI is pegged to the dollar because dollar is the most unit used in the world, but it would take 24 hours to change that to anything, like a currency of baskets, gold, ether. We can peg it to whatever we want. So in a way, it is supporting it, but in another way, it's just a number that people understand. Like people know everywhere where a Big Mac costs in dollars. In the currency or basket's currency, less so. But yeah, I agree with you that there's a bit of a paradox there. All right. Thank you, everyone.